Good evening, everyone. Welcome. This is the Town of Somer Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. The date is March 15th, 2022. Denise, would you please take the roll? Denise, you're on mute.
Sorry, Ms. DiPolito.
Here.
Mr. Gio.
Here.
Mr. Hardin.
Here.
Mr. Lansky, not here. Mr. Newman.
Here.
Mr. Padavani.
Here.
Chairman Canestra.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. First of all, I'd like to welcome our newest zoning board member. Paul Padavani was appointed by the town board to serve with us on the zoning board. So Paul, first I want to just welcome you and thank you very much for your service to the town. I know this is a volunteer position and we very much appreciate it. Is there anything you'd like to say? Maybe a quick introduction or?
I'm just happy to be here. Thanks for getting me on, and I look forward to serving.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. If possible from the town, I'd like to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Can we get a flag up on the screen? Okay, great. If everybody would please do the pledge with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. So we're going to go right into our agenda this evening. First item on the agenda is that of Albert and Ann Cusano. This is an application for a special exception use permit for an existing accessory apartment in an existing one-family dwelling in R40 residential district at 18 Watergate Drive, Amawak. Ms. Cusano, are you here to speak in regard to your application?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Could you briefly describe your application, what you're looking to do and what's...
Well, my mom's been living with us for the last several years, and we actually, I assume 7 years ago, we had the renewal process. So we're just asking this to be renewed again. She's 91 years old. She lives with us. She lives downstairs. The building inspector came and checked out the property and checked out to make sure that we were up to code. And it seemed everything was fine. Everything was good. And we're just looking to live here in, for the next few years, next several years, hopefully.
Okay. And there have been no significant changes to the apartment over this past 7 years? Okay.
No, everything's been kind of pretty, other than a little cosmetic upgrades here and there, but nothing significant.
Tom, I'm just going to the building inspector. Tom, have you done an inspection on the apartment and all is in conformance with the code?
And a little cosmetic.
I have, and it is.
There, but nothing significant.
Okay. Tom, I'm just going to the building inspector. Tom, have you done an inspection on the apartment and all is in conformance with the code? We're getting some feedback here. For
Yeah.
I have. I've inspected the apartment, and it's all compliant with code.
Again, same thing with the septic, correct? Haven't the tank being pumped out?
That is now mandatory as part of the application.
Thank you again, Denise.
And you're welcome.
And Denise, we haven't had any complaints regarding this apartment, noise issues or anything else?
Not at all.
Not.
You never know. We have to ask.
I mean.
Okay. Further questions from board members before I take this to the public? No. Okay. This is an opportunity now for the public to come in with any comments. Please keep in mind, even though we're on Zoom, this is a public meeting. Anyone can, state their name and address and make any comments or have questions answered regarding this application. So this is your opportunity. Could we put the phone numbers on the screen so that the general public can call?
Give me 1 second while we pull that up.
Sure. And keep in mind, any members of the public, you can just call in on one of the numbers provided. And there's a meeting code there that you just click on. And you can come into our meeting and we'll hear your concerns, because even though we're on Zoom, like I said, this is a public meeting. Are we able to get those? Oh, here they come. Okay, so there we go. So you'll see the phone numbers on the screen that you call, and then just enter the Zoom meeting ID number, and then you would come into the meeting. So we'll leave this open for a minute or two to see if anybody from the public wishes to speak in regard to this application. Any further comments or questions by board members while we're waiting of the applicant? I know I asked once, but I thought I'd do it again. Nope.
No, I'm good.
Okay. And Denise, no one had mentioned that they wanted to speak in regard to this application that you know of?
I have not heard from anybody with regard to this application.
Okay, thank you. We don't have anyone trying to get in? No one's calling? No. Okay, why don't we, let's go back to, let's take the numbers down. Okay, from the applicant, Mrs. Cusano, anything else that you would like to say at this point in time? Before we vote?
No, I mean, I love working with Denise. She's been awesome, and you guys have been just terrific to work with. So I'm just very, very happy to live here. So I've been living here 40 years, 40
Wow.
years in this house.
Okay,
Mhm.
Maybe
That's
Thank
30.
you.
thank you. Okay, if there's no further issues or questions, I think we should go to a vote. Do we have a motion as to the type of action?
I'll make a motion.
Take
type
two.
I'll second then.
Ms. DiPolito,
Aye.
Mr. Gio,
Aye.
Mr. Hardin,
Aye.
Mr. Newman,
Aye.
Mr. Padavani,
Aye.
Chairman Canestra.
Aye.
Thank you.
Can
Thank
we
you.
have a motion as to whether we're going to grant the special exception use permit for an additional 7 years in regard to this application?
I'll make a motion to approve the application to renew the special exception use permit for an accessory apartment at 18 Watergate Drive.
I second.
Ms. DiPolito,
Aye.
Mr. Gio,
Aye.
Mr. Hardin,
Aye.
Mr. Lansky, sorry, Mr. Newman,
Aye.
Mr. Padavani,
Aye.
Chairman Canestra.
Aye.
Thank you.
Congratulations, your application's granted, and if you're still here, you have to come back and see us 7 years from now.
7 years I'll be here. Thank you.
Okay.
And I'm going to go out and take the sign down. This sign
Yeah.
has been around the corner with the 2 snowstorms. I've always had to have this
Put
sign
it,
up.
put it in the garage for 7 years from now. And I will be in touch.
All right.
Thank you.
Got it. All
Okay,
right. Take
Thanks.
care. Have a
Thank
wonderful
you.
evening, everyone. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
your
You too.
assistance.
You
Thank
too.
you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
we're going to go on to the second item on our agenda this evening, that of James and Hope Mazzola. This is an application also to renew a special exception use permit for an existing accessory apartment on the 2nd floor of a detached garage to an existing one-family dwelling in an R80 residential district at 27 Valley Pond Road, Katona. And who would like to speak in regard to this application?
I'm unmuting. Just a correction, it's actually an attached garage. There's a breezeway, but it is attached. There is a detached garage, but that's not where the apartment is.
Okay, and you are Hope Mazzola, is that correct?
I am Hope Mazzola,
Okay,
and we purchased the home. Oh my gosh, this is our third renewal. And it was for my mom. Unfortunately, she passed away in 2004. And we currently had my sister living there whose husband passed away. And one of our kids is now old enough to live on his own, but apparently doesn't want to leave. So hopefully paying rent will encourage him to leave. But he's going to be up there. Yeah, it's been a great little apartment for, the wayward, the souls who needed it, and, family members with divorces and deaths.
have there been any significant changes to the apartment over the last 7 years?
Nothing other than a couple of, faucets changed or shower heads.
Okay, and to our building inspector, Tom Tuma. Tom, have you had a chance to inspect the apartment?
I have.
And is it in compliance with the code?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
And
thank you.
the correction that Hope mentioned with it being attached is correct.
Okay, thank you. Denise, have we had any complaints regarding this apartment? Any issues with the neighbors?
We have not, and it is my fault that it was listed as detached and not, or attached and not, whatever. My fault, sorry. And no complaints.
Okay, great, thank you. Any other questions from board members of the applicant at this time?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Anyone on the Zoom call right now who wishes to speak in regard to this application? Any comments from the public? No. Okay, let's put our numbers back on the screen to see if anybody from the public wishes to call in and has any comments in regard to this application. Once again, as I stated before, this is a public meeting. Anyone can call in using the numbers indicated, and then just enter the Zoom ID number and you'll come on the phone call with us. Denise, do we have anyone trying to come on the phone call?
We do not.
Okay, let's take down our numbers and let's go back to our. Okay, back to our screen here. Okay. Any further questions of the applicant at this point in time? Nope. Ms. Mazzola, do you have any comments or anything further you'd like to say in regard to the application?
Nothing other than to confirm that working with Denise absolutely is a true pleasure. She made everything very easy. And it's just, the information is very helpful to have, especially when I had a neighbor call me to see what was going on. And I told him about the sewage treatment plant we were putting in. So he was psyched about that, but no. Denise, and of course to our building inspector, thank you, Tom, for coming out. And I happen to know, probably more about being in houses and what's required, and he checked everything. So it's good to know. Thank you.
Thank you.
I
Great.
have to say, it's very, very nice to hear from the general public that our town is doing a superb job. Thank you.
Okay, so I think we're ready to vote on this application. Can we have a motion as to the type of action?
Type 2?
Second.
Ms. DiPolito,
Aye.
Mr. Gio,
Aye.
Mr. Harden,
Aye.
Mr. Newman,
Aye.
Mr. Padavani,
Aye.
Chairman Canestra.
Aye.
Thank you.
Can we have a motion as to whether we're going to grant the special exception use permit for an accessory apartment for another 7 years at this location?
I'll make a motion to approve the application to renew a special exception use permit for the existing accessory apartment on the second floor of the attached garage at 27 Valley Pond Road.
I second.
Ms. DiPolito,
Aye.
Mr. Gio,
Aye.
Mr. Hardin,
Aye.
Mr. Newman,
Aye.
Mr. Padavani,
Aye.
Chairman Canestra.
Aye.
Thank you.
Congratulations, your application has been granted. As indicated, this permit is for 7 years and you'll have to come back to us after that time for a renewal. Okay.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
I'll be in touch, Hope.
Thanks, Denise.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very
Good
much.
night.
Bye.
Right. We're going to go to the third item on our agenda. This is the application of Andrea Matus. This is an application for a deck addition for less than the required lot size, rear yard setback, building coverage, and site coverage to an existing one-family dwelling in an R10 residential district at 18 Carpenter Place, Yorktown Heights. Who is here this evening to represent the applicant?
Bob should have been there. I had emailed him.
Yeah, so their architect, Bob Eberts, should be on with us. I'm not sure where he is. This is Miss Mattis's husband, Mr. Mazzulli, is on.
Yes.
You can take it away.
All right, so, well, let me ask you this, Mr. Mazzulli, Andrea, let me see here. Andrea is your spouse?
Yes.
Okay, do you jointly own the property?
No, just her.
Just her. Okay, I guess the question is, can this individual represent the applicant if he's not an owner on the property and we don't have anyone else? Is
We're married, I mean,
yeah, is Andrea available or?
she, believe it or not, she was so fed up with the 1-year delay. Every Tuesday she goes to the movies and she says, Gene, I don't care one way or another. I'm fed up, so I'm going to my movie. So I told her to stay here, but women are women. And
So Vic, at the end of the day, really anybody can present the application. We've had that in the past, that it's been, an attorney for the applicant,
Right.
an architect for the applicant, and
Right.
I'm shocked that Bob's not here. I mean, he's the
Yeah.
one who gave me the link to get on. And then I
Right.
emailed a few minutes ago when you asked, when you
do you have
told
a phone number to call him by any chance?
me. It'll take a couple minutes to find it. It's not like in
Yeah.
my listing.
Okay, so
All
why
right.
don't we proceed? Because, yeah, Denise is right. I mean, we have had other individuals who, represent applicants.
Right.
Usually we like to see the
I'm
applicant
fine with
here.
that. I'm fine.
Yeah,
I'm fine.
Okay,
Mr. Mazzulli, excuse
Yes.
me, before we start, can I have your first name? I think it's Eugene.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
okay. So, sir, could you briefly describe the application and what is being requested here?
Sure. We went through all the regulations and everything to have our above ground pool put in, all the inspections, all the proper documents and all that. And it's kind of difficult to get into the pool, with a ladder and stuff like, a sturdy pool ladder. And we have a deck coming off of our back sliding glass windows. And she just thought it'd be a great idea to have a deck at the pool that could attach to this deck. Basically, it's some way, shape, or form, doesn't have to match up to the same level. So we had to scale it down at least 5 times. Bob, I think, made 10 drawings to present. And I believe he finally came up with one that was, I don't want to use the word acceptable, but agreed. I don't want to use the wrong words, but something that everybody said, all right, it'll probably go through. if you use this particular drawing or architectural design, again, we had to scale back on a lot of issues. That's the most I know about it.
Okay. So when I'm looking at the application here, it says the lot size, 10,000 is required. This is an R10 district. I guess the existing lot is 9,750. Rear yard, there's a 25 foot required setback. I guess 21.53 exists. This is going to increase that. So I guess it'll be a 13.53 foot variance is needed.
Right.
Building coverage, 20% is permitted. 24.15 exists, so we're going to go to a variance of 7.79% variance. And then site coverage is 40% permitted, 40.7% exists, and then there's a 4.37% variance. And what you're doing here is building the deck, right? That's the only construction that's going to go on to that's occurring here.
It's just on one side of the pool, the side closest to our house, right where our existing deck is.
And how high is the deck off the ground?
The one that's gonna get put at the pool,
Yes.
4 feet.
And is there a step from your existing deck to the new deck to the pool?
No, they have to build a step, because the steps that are on our existing deck are too far gone, so they're gonna replace those steps to go all the way to the landing like it is, but then halfway down a cutout to the pool deck. So it's an 8 foot, basically it's an 8 foot straight down staircase, and at 4 feet, it's gonna go veer off to the right to the deck.
So is the new deck going to be at the same height as the current deck?
No, sir. It's gonna
What's
be
the difference?
like 4 to 5 feet lower.
So the new deck is 4 to 5 feet lower than your existing deck, and that
Correct.
will lead to the edge of the pool.
Correct.
Okay. Questions by other board members on this
Just to
application?
refresh my memory. So
Yes, sir.
we had an application before, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
There was
But
something
they had
about,
to change, they had to change the zoning because the coverage, something with coverage, Bob had to go to the zoning board and have the wordage changed so that, and they agreed to do it, they did it.
okay, so we pushed this because of the change to lot
Right.
coverage.
Correct.
So that it would be
Yes, sir.
closer.
Right,
It was better for them to wait until the
Right.
code was changed.
correct.
And then if I recall, there was some issue with retaining walls. That
Yes,
was-
sir. Yes, sir. The gentleman that I called had come by and he was saying that it was a tight fit to the neighbor's, I don't want to say illegal deck because it's a foot off of my wall. So I believe anything that you build has to be 5 feet from your property line. This is 1 foot. So he's saying he went down to Florida for the winter. He came back Monday. I said, well, I'm off on Wednesday and Thursday. Come by. His thing was he doesn't know if he could squeeze something in that spot because his deck is so close to my wall.
Okay, so there wasn't something were you going to shore up?
We're gonna put a new, what do you call, steel beams in front of the retaining wall. But it's a small area where his deck is, and it's way past our pool. It's like more towards the front of the yard, where it's very low. It's only 4 foot high there. Towards the back of his house, it's like 8 foot, an 8 foot wall, which is all going to be restructured with steel beams.
Okay. And Tom Tuma, is that something that's required?
No, it's either that or take all the old railroad ties out and put new ones in. So it's just more feasible to do it this way.
Okay, and is that
We
a
have the
condition?
I haven't
room,
been out.
we have the room because it's not on, yeah, we had it, what do you call? Surveyed and everything else. I believe you had to get a survey or Bob had to get it surveyed for this deck. You should have a copy now.
Yes,
Okay,
we do.
I haven't been out to view the retaining wall and the
Okay.
condition it's in, and nor do I know what the, the detail of reinforcing
Right.
the wall is.
Right.
Um,
It's not
I'll
gonna go
over
anywhere.
that, but I would ask the applicant, is that gonna be part of, what you propose to do here to repair
sir.
and sturdy that wall?
Yes, sir, absolutely. Absolutely.
okay, so that would possibly be a condition for
Sure,
this
sure.
variance, I
Yeah,
guess?
I have no issue with it.
All right.
Is
Yeah,
that
Tommy, I
something
have
your
a couple
architect,
questions
Bob
for you.
Eberts, is gonna design?
No, it's gonna be a third party. But we'll put it in his thing if you want.
What,
Now,
a professional or,
Yeah.
okay.
Campanello is gonna do some of it. He's
Tommy,
coming
I have a
over.
question for you.
Sure.
All right, Tom, now regarding the deck going to the pool,
Yes, sir.
does that more or less make it sort of like a in-ground pool?
No, sir. No, sir. It's, so the 4 foot all the way around above ground. All we're doing is one side, the long side of the pool. There's 2 long sides.
Okay.
Side
excuse me.
closest to my house and side closest to my
No,
neighbor.
okay, I understand that, sir. The question was to the building inspector.
Oh, I'm
It
sorry.
would still be considered an above ground swimming pool.
Okay, now what happens if the pool, okay, we granted it for accessibility to the pool. What happens if the pool decides from a previous owner or they decide to take it down? What happens with the deck then?
They would do a demolition permit for the swimming pool and an alteration permit to the deck, because obviously it would be in need of some guardrail.
Okay, thank you.
I think that's one of my questions also, Tom. What is the requirement for fencing around an above ground pool? Usually we see in ground, so.
Yeah, if your pool walls are 48 inches above finished grade or higher, there is no requirement for fencing, just the safety ladder. Once you attach a deck to it, like the applicant is proposing, there are other safety features, and the plan that was submitted for the application addresses that with a 4 foot high self-closing, self-latching gate and a 4 foot high railing from the existing deck to the lower deck. And there would be, I think there's another gate because they have a set of stairs going from the proposed lower deck down to grade, and that will also be equipped with minimum 4 foot high with limitations on the openings and the style of the railing to protect the, to meet the New York State code on barriers.
Right. Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments from board members at this point in time?
Well, I guess, I mean, obviously this is the first sort of test of the changes to the code with regard to building and lot coverage. So I guess a lot of this discussion will come down to what's a reasonable variance given those new numbers, right?
Yes, sir.
Right, and these R10 districts are always tight because, it's only 10,000 or less square feet to work with. Yeah, the lot coverage, I guess it's 4.37% variance required here. Or being requested.
Is
then
that
Bill-
is that the variance that is requested? They want
Yeah,
a
the va-
variance for the difference between that and what our code is?
Yes, the site coverage variance is requested at 4.37%, and the building coverage, I'm just looking at the application, is requested at 7.79%. So the building coverage variance is larger.
Mhm.
There's a total of 4 variances being requested. The others are setback.
So maybe we could just take those one at a time for discussion. The less than the required lot size, obviously this is a pre-existing lot, so that should not be an issue, correct?
Right.
I would tend to agree, and based on my discussion with counsel, that seems to be his opinion also.
The rear yard setback variance is required is 25 feet, proposed is 13.5.
Right, because it would only have, if he puts the deck up, it looks like 15 and change or 15 and a half feet. So, yeah, okay.
That being said, I guess the pool is already there. So it doesn't seem to be a major change. I mean, right, the pool is within that set. Tommy, so the pool isn't required to have the same setback?
I think I'm gonna look at his zoning chart. I forget our conversation on that, whether we would keep considering that as an accessory still, even though it's attached to the principal dwelling with
I
the
believe so.
deck addition. Yeah.
I believe it, we gave more than the allowed setback because we didn't want it under the trees. So it's further away than it has to be. I know that much. The pool anyway.
So that as an accessory, the pool is compliant with the 5-foot
Yes, sir.
side and rear yard setbacks, and that's staying considered an accessory to the principal dwelling.
Correct.
Okay,
And
so
it's
I
way,
mean,
like I said,
my-
it's way further than 5 feet. It's way more than 5 feet back. It's at least 15.
right, so 13 from 25 is seems significant, but given that it just runs along the pool and the pool is already there and meets its setback requirement, I would think it to be less of an issue from my point of view.
So it wouldn't be infringing more than the pool is currently infringing.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. Sir, do you know how close the neighbor's house behind you is?
It's pretty, yeah, it's nowhere, he doesn't have a house there. Directly behind me, he has a vacant lot. And to the right, behind my existing deck, he has a house probably, I don't know, 100 feet away from my deck.
So you have kind of woods behind you?
Where we're building the deck, it's just a vacant lot. Behind.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at an aerial on a Google map, it's very wooded and there's no house immediately behind that area. It's actually offset quite a bit to the other side of his house.
Correct.
The house below you is actually much closer than that house, but the deck wouldn't
Correct.
really. It's on the other side of the pool from the other
Correct.
adjacent house.
Correct, 100%.
So that's 2 down. Then you have building coverage. The existing building coverage already exceeds the 20%. Allowed is 1950, already at 2355, going up another 350 square feet or so with the deck addition.
Right.
But isn't the deck an accessory?
This is where Bob, I think, had to go and talk with zoning and try to get things changed, because they were even consider our driveway as part of like coverage.
Yeah, the deck is considered part of the principal.
Right, your driveway is now excluded. That's the good news.
Right.
But the deck is included. Building coverage, the percentage of the lot area covered by the combined area of all buildings and/or impervious structures on the lot, excluding pools, carports, and sheds. So are decks not included then, Tommy, because they're pervious?
Yeah, I was just looking for that piece of paper with that updated language. If you just quoted it, then the deck, my interpretation, the deck is pervious. It doesn't hold water. The water goes through the decking.
Right, so the deck is included in lot coverage, but not included in building coverage. So I wonder
Yeah.
why. I mean, so so you would think then that there would not be an increase to the existing building coverage.
Yeah, unless he's got some concrete slab at the base of the stairs. Trying to pick up what else on the application is impervious. Where it'd be helpful to have Mr. Ebert.
Yeah, I think that's what the joists are gonna sit on, right, Tommy? Is that what you're talking about?
The stair stringers. The stair stringers. With this is
Right.
that's an existing stone patio.
Yeah, but even slabs would not be included in building coverage under the new definition, I don't think.
It said impervious surface.
Well, it's combined area of all buildings and or impervious structures, not surfaces.
Okay.
So a slab would not be a structure. However, for site coverage, the combined area of all building structures and impervious surfaces. So that would be calculated in site, but not in building. So it would occur to me that the project itself does not increase the building coverage. So that may have been a just in putting the schedule here on the plans. They may have miscalculated that. It would still be over because the existing he lists at 2355.
That was that.
Which is about 400 square feet over the max. And then there's another 350, which seems like he might have included that deck, but maybe doesn't have to.
I apologize, gentlemen, to give you extra work when Bob should, be there. I have no idea what happened to him.
Well, I mean, with the recent code change, it may be somewhat understandable.
Right.
I did send an email to him for whatever it was worth, but I haven't heard back.
Does anybody have a thought on what would be a reasonable variance? So if it were 20 to 27, is that? Any thoughts on whether that's a large variance or a?
We're saying it's not applicable in this circumstance, right?
Yeah, I'm just trying
That
to
is
kind
considered a
of,
pervious surface. Yeah, I mean, this is
what's a
where
benchmark?
what's I mean, like, for example, site coverage, 4.37%, when 40% is, permitted and he's 4.37 over, it's maybe around 10%. It's a lot larger when you look at building coverage at 20 and we're going to 27, but.
Right. So I think if it was 24, that seems, if there's a mistake here and it's really only the 24%, that would seem reasonable, as would site coverage to me. They would seem to be reasonable variances. If it were truly the 27, almost 28, I guess I'd start to question a bit, but
Right.
I don't see how building coverage is being increased in this project.
Yeah, especially if the deck is considered pervious. And also, I think, which helps the applicant here, is that behind him is a wooded lot, so I don't really see much encroachment on that or drainage issues.
And these percentages are based off the fact that he has a smaller existing lot than required, right? So we're basing it off of what was there. So the percentages are going to be higher regardless. I shouldn't say regardless, but if it was to code, his smaller lot would require a variance. Is that accurate?
Yeah, he's under the 250 requirement here. Yep. Yeah, he's under by 250 square feet for the lot. Yep.
Right, so that's visually, it would look as maybe as large as everyone else's. Just because he has a 250 square foot lot smaller, no one's really going to pick that out, I would imagine. No?
And I guess, yeah, given that there's a retaining wall, so the neighbor below you, who's obviously considerably below you because there's a retaining wall. So adding to, one of the reasons that lot coverage is there is because of runoff. I mean, what is the drainage like over there? Does the water flow off your property and down that wall to him, or?
No, so we just had a new septic tank and what's the other part? There's two
Field.
parts to it. We had
Fields?
everything. Just, yes, sir. We just had fields. We just had all
Yeah,
those
The
done.
tank in the fields, yeah.
Right.
What
but
about
I'm
like
saying we
rainwater?
have good drainage. He instructed us make sure, because it's like in a aquarium, you gotta have, so it doesn't really run off that way. If anything, it runs down our driveway. Not from the dirted area, just any excess water is basically going down our driveway.
Out to the street?
Correct. But not from the dirted area, And basically that area, the deck's not even covering that. It's covering a small portion of the grass. Like there's probably about tops, I think, what are they asking for the deck? 12 to 15 foot wide. It's not a wide area. It's more long, that I understand. But it's really
Yeah, approximately 11 feet by 25.
Right. So it's only covering, a small portion of the grass, the dirt.
Tommy, what was that dimension you just said?
It's, we got 11 foot plus or minus, by proposed 25 feet.
Okay.
Other board member comments on the significance of the variance? Does anybody have a problem with it? Do we think it's too large, reasonable?
I have no comments.
I think it's reasonable.
I have no comments either. We're starting out with a small lot, so that's part of the problem.
I agree. I second that.
Yeah, and if you look at the square footage, if we use that 11 by 25, it does appear that perhaps in the calculation and the drawings here, that's about the difference between the existing and proposed. So it does appear that perhaps the architect included that in error.
I think the application is reasonable asked for the use and enjoyment of the property, considering the size of the lot.
I agree with Melissa.
And the neighbor was here, the neighbor below you, I think, was at the last meeting.
Yes,
And
sir.
their
Yes, sir.
only issue was the
Yeah,
retaining.
yeah, he had come over tonight, and spoke with my wife, and, they worked out. She said my husband's off Wednesdays and Thursdays. Like I said, the guy that was supposed to come was in Florida for the winter. So he's coming to meet me Wednesday. And I had called him over a month ago, once we knew that the meeting was on. But again, he was in Florida, he was working remotely. His business is up here, but he vacations once a year. But it'll be taken care of. I mean, it's for our benefit as well as the neighbors.
Do we have any comments from the neighbors?
I have not heard from anybody.
Okay.
All right, so why don't we put this out to the public and see if there is any comments? Doesn't look like there's anybody from the public on this call right now to comment, so let's put it out to the public. We'll put their phone numbers up once again. This is a public meeting. Anyone can call in using the numbers provided. And then then all you have to do is put in the Zoom meeting number and you'll come right onto the call with us. So if we could put the numbers up.
Stand by 1 second.
Sure. All right, so this is the opportunity for the public to call in using one of the numbers in the white box and then entering the Zoom meeting ID number, and that'll bring you into our meeting.
I'm shocked that if Bob couldn't make it, he would have told the builder who lives right down the street from me to, go on for him, because he's building and he knows the details.
It's okay.
I think you're gonna get what you want, Gene, anyway.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate it.
Okay, Denise, anyone trying to get in?
No.
Okay, all right, I think we're gonna take down the phone numbers. Doesn't seem there's anyone interested to call in. So, any further comments from the board? Any additional questions for the applicant at this point in time?
No.
I do not.
Just to
Okay.
clarify, so would we condition this upon the improvements to the retaining wall? Or would that be a separate matter? Tommy, I don't know, maybe you have an opinion on that.
We can condition our approval if we think something has to be done and is, applicable to the situation at hand. So yeah, we can make it a condition.
Come here. Outside.
I'm all for reinforcing the wall, especially since the applicant's, willing to do so.
Yeah, it needs to be done. We're willing to do it.
So, sir, if we condition your approval, assuming that's how the board is going to vote,
Yes, sir.
on, repairing that retaining wall, that's something that you would be
Like I said,
amenable to? Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
That's good.
And then would we make the other, so if we were to grant a variance for the building coverage, would we essentially grant it at the existing number as listed on the plans, not the proposed number, which we believe to be inaccurate?
I think we have to go along with the plans.
Yeah, that
Because we don't
definition
know
in front
about
of
that
you.
inaccuracy.
Well, we may not want to approve a variance that large. So it would be to our benefit to approve a smaller one, especially if the larger one isn't needed.
Right.
Because 8% is a significant.
Yeah, I'll go along with that, sir. I don't know if you're asking me, but I'm okay with it.
I don't know. What do you
Yeah,
think?
Tom Tuma, what do you think about this?
I'd like to hear, I don't have the definition in front of me. It was quoted earlier. I'd like to hear it again.
So the building coverage, that percentage of the lot area covered by the combined area of all buildings. And
Bob Eberts is coming into the meeting.
Thank you.
I'm just going to read that again, Tommy. That percentage of
thank
the
you.
lot area covered by the combined area of all buildings and or impervious structures on the lot, excluding pools, carports, and sheds.
Okay, so now I have to look at the definition of building to see if it includes decks. That, I don't think, did the town board modify that definition as well, or no?
No, we define structure.
Okay, gotta look at buildings and see if building decks.
But the deck is
Bob,
not impervious, it's pervious.
Right, but the definition says buildings, all buildings. You would think it's just the house, but I would like to just make sure the definition of buildings doesn't include decks.
And I just want to make sure we get this right so that when your wife comes home from the movie.
Yes, sir. Yes. I agree.
Good evening. This is Bob Eberts, Cross River Architects. Apologize, I've been trying to log in. Finally got here.
Good.
Thank you, sir. We may have a question for you, and one of the issues that we're having here is we're trying to debate or determine what falls under the definition of building coverage. Maybe you could assist us as far as what your opinion was when you read the code.
When I read the code, it very clearly indicated the decks was included in building coverage.
You thought it was included?
Yes.
Because
And-
we're reading the code and it's talking about pervious surfaces not being included in the building coverage, and but we don't know if deck in and of itself is part of a building.
There is definitely a conflict there, but it listed decks as part of that. So it didn't make sense, but decks was clearly listed under building in my opinion, or my reading of it. And therefore we did include the deck in the definition of the building.
You may not be aware, but I know that the town board recently changed lot coverage requirements, and I just want to make sure that you're looking at the most updated code.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay. And Tom, were you able to determine the definition of a, all buildings if decks are included in quote buildings?
I don't know if Bob was here for the conversation of when, was it Tom who read the definition of building coverage?
Part of it.
Tom, you want to read the definition? I'm sorry, one more time, just so everybody can hear it and Bob can hear it.
Sorry about that, thank you.
That percentage of the lot area covered by the combined area of all buildings and/or impervious structures on the lot, excluding pools, carports, and sheds.
That's the definition of building coverage. So, we consider a deck to be pervious, but is a deck under the definition of building, all buildings? That's, I guess, the question.
Let's see if I can find it quickly.
I thought that our intent was to exclude decks in that whole thing.
I thought it was too.
That was my recollection. That's why I'm thinking the pervious definition is what's applicable here. But
See, I thought if the deck was pervious, it was not included.
The site coverage definition includes,
Okay.
the old one included
Tell me the truth.
drives, whether they were paved or unpaved, and decks.
Right, lot coverage, it's definitely included in lot coverage.
Yeah.
Because it's a structure.
I'm reading memo to the town board from the zoning board here that clearly listed the decks. Let's see, include the combination of all buildings, driveways, walkways, and decks, including patios.
That's the existing, right? In the memo, it lists the existing definition and the proposed definition.
Correct, yeah, then we go on to say that the percentage of lot area covered by all area of the buildings on the lot, plus the areas of all decks, porches, patios, viewed from above, excluding those wholly underground. Let's see if I can find something a little more current than that one.
And the other way to approach this is, if we don't think that 7.79% over the max if the board were inclined to grant a variance for 27.79% building coverage, then it wouldn't matter, and they'd be covered either way. Clearly, we need to, better understand what was intended there. But
yeah, Denise sent me this memo that says that reads, building coverage is defined as that percentage of the lot area covered by the combination of all buildings on the lot, plus the areas of all decks, porches, and porticos as viewed from above, excluding those wholly located underground.
that's the
And
old.
that's the updated.
That's the old definition,
Yeah, that's the old definition, right?
which we changed. So really, the only clarification is Tommy's point of,
I see. Okay.
is a deck considered a building? And I don't think it was intended to be. So
I mean, I think if the applicant was, building a structure where this deck is, I'd have a very different feeling on the lot coverage, but because it's a deck,
Yeah,
and it's pervious, I'm not as concerned.
And
Okay,
then
so I mean-
Tom, in regards to the fact that for future variances, 8% being a lot, I think it should be noted in the minutes, if we do have to look back on this in the future, that it's because the lot is smaller than 10,000, right? So that's, yes, it's 8, but it's not like we would be granting 8 on every lot of every size.
Yeah, right. And again, each lot, every application has its own special considerations. So it's not like, we don't want to, there's a bit of precedent, but it's not, it will vary from application to application.
And the code does recognize that higher lot coverages are available for smaller lots, just because if you use the same lot coverage for an R80 and an R10, it's just not going to work, so.
Okay.
Would you want to know the percentage if the deck was excluded of the built of the
If
building?
the deck was excluded, I assume it would be the existing column on the plan, right? Which would be the 24.15%, 2355 square feet.
Well, there's an existing deck as well that's included in that.
Right. But so in other words, I see. So it would be even less.
It would be even less. In fact,
You might even make it to the 20%.
yeah, you might actually
I get
right
inside
under
the
it.
code, right?
All right, well, I mean, we can, so Tommy, if you had to make a ruling, Tommy Tuma, if you had to make a ruling on, are you still including decks in your calculation of, are you still do you still consider decks to be buildings?
I think as far as this application goes, I think that's safe to say. I want to revisit the newly adopted revisions, zoning code, to make further determination. I think for this application, I would consider it to be requiring a variance.
Okay, so then if that's the case, we should, so until you review it, you're going to continue to consider it a building. Part of building.
I would consider that in, deciding this variance as it's proposed.
Now, of course, keep in mind, a building generally is, impervious, and we have a, pervious building or structure, shall we say. So I think some difference has to be recognized there.
So if that's the case, then we can just, then I would approve it at the higher number, 27.79. If everyone is so inclined.
I'll go along with that.
Yep.
I mean, I think if this was an impervious surface, I think it'd be a different decision, but since it's pervious, I'm not as, I'm not concerned about it.
I agree with that.
Okay, any further comments from any board members? Any further discussion we want to have on this?
I'm good.
Any comments further from the representative of the applicant?
No, sir.
Any comments? No? Okay. Mr. Eberts, any further comments you'd like to make in regard to this?
No,
Okay.
thank you.
Are we prepared to vote on the application at this time?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Can we have a motion for the type of action?
Type 2.
Second.
Ms. DiPolito,
Aye.
Mr. Gio,
Aye.
Mr. Hardin,
Aye.
Mr. Newman,
Aye.
Mr. Padavani,
Aye.
Chairman Canestra.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can we have a motion in regard to the application? I think we should be specific, I guess, in the variances needed here, and maybe if we're going to place any conditions upon the applicant, such as the retaining wall.
So we could make one motion, but the variances should be listed out within that motion. Please.
Yes.
I'll take a shot.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion to grant a variance for lot size of 250 square feet for lot size. A variance for 13.53 feet for rear yard setback. A variance of 7.79% for building coverage. And a variance of 4.37% for site coverage, with the condition that the retaining wall be repaired to the satisfaction of the building inspector.
I'll
Second,
second that.
May I speak?
Yep.
There was one thing, and I apologize for this. There was an error I made on the table for the rear setback variance. It's actually 11.47 feet variance requested, not 13 as stated in the public hearing.
All right, so we'll correct that, Denise, to 11.47, you say?
Yes, and that was my error on the table when I indicated it.
Okay.
I appreciate you pointing that out, sir, just for accuracy here, so.
Mhm.
Okay, I got it.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table, and we had a second, I believe.
I
yes,
have no idea who just said that.
Who seconded it?
Arnie.
I said, well, I made no, I seconded.
well,
Thank-
whoever.
Thank you, Bill. All right, I'm good, Vic. I have it.
Okay, so we have to vote.
Oh, Ms. DiPolito,
Aye.
Mr. Gio,
Aye.
Mr. Hardin,
Aye.
Mr. Newman,
Aye.
Mr. Padavani,
Aye.
Chairman Canestra.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, congratulations, sir. Your application has been granted.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Can we stay on the line and watch her come in from the movie?
Yeah, I think it's at 10:30. but I'm sure
Gene,
she-
you had the champagne ready?
I was just gonna say that. You better have a drink in hand when she walks in the door.
Thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate it.
Thank you. You did a
Thank
great
you very much
job.
for your
Thank
time.
you. You as
Thank
well.
you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, one other thing I did want to make a mention to the board. I did speak with Town Council Jerry Riley on a couple of other matters that we've been discussing over the past couple of months. And I wanted to give you his opinion. Keep in mind, he did say to me, this is the opinion of Town Council. Doesn't mean that that is the final opinion, but he said you have to consider the opinion of the building inspector, and then, of course, all of us on the zoning board can also make determinations. But there were two things. One was the issue regarding, we had discussed about parking commercial vehicles on residential properties. And Jerry made the comment to me that if it's not permitted, it's excluded. So he says that's kind of a fundamental law in New York State. So it has to be specifically permitted or allowed, or you consider it to be excluded. So Jerry's reading of the code was that it doesn't specifically allow commercial vehicles to be parked on residential properties. So that means, those properties, he would recommend that they be put into a garage. But there's nothing specific about the code on this. So that was his interpretation of the code. And, building inspector may have a different interpretation. We may have a different interpretation, but that was his opinion. And I told him I would relay that to the board members. The second issue was in regard to lot coverage. And his take on lot coverage was that you only have to get a variance if it enhances a nonconformity. So he says you have to go back to the requirements of when the lot was put into place. And if it was allowed, then it's considered allowed, and you don't need a variance every time they do something on the lot. That was his opinion. Because, you know, we've had this discussion that, you know, if the lot size is below the required, for example, the application we just had, R10 district, 10,000 square feet, the applicant only has 9,750 square feet. So I said to Jerry, so does this mean the applicant has to come before the board anytime they want to do anything? And his opinion was no. You know, if to get a building permit, he doesn't have to come before us, because at the time his lot was approved, it was an approved lot. So Jerry took the position that it is not required. The building, I mean, once again, the building inspector may have a different position. We may have a different position. But I just wanted to relay to you his two positions on these two issues, which we've had some recent discussions on.
So in this case tonight, we technically did not have to grant him that first variance.
That was Jerry Riley's opinion. You know, it doesn't hurt to do it, but he felt that since the lot was, you know, pre-existing, his position was you don't have to do it every time they seek a building permit. Of course, the other items they had to come before us on.
And then by that same token, now that we have granted that variance, even if Jerry was wrong, if we hadn't once we've granted the variance as we did tonight, he would never have to ask again. Right?
Well, you know, sometimes I think the board was taking the position anytime he wanted to do anything on his lot, he'd have to come before the zoning board because the lot is non-conforming. And Jerry said that's not, like, say he wants a permit to, you know, add an extension, and let's assume it didn't change lot coverage or something like that. He'd have to come for us solely because the lot was under the R10. And Jerry's position was, no, it's pre-existing. He does not have to come before you. That was his opinion. You know, I don't know. What do you think about that, Tom? You know, your opinion is, you know, just as important, of course, as town council's.
Yeah, I actually had some conversation with him myself, and I think it was 170-93, non-conforming properties. And I heard him differently than you just explained. And the date was a big factor. There's something in I think it's 170-93 that mentions the date. But he had indicated, I thought to me, if you wanted to improve the lot and it's non-conforming due to lot size, that it would require a variance.
Yeah, that's not what.
What about front? Same thing with frontage. In an R10 zone, a lot is required to have 75 foot of road frontage. So if somebody wanted to, they replace the dwelling with a new dwelling, I would think that they would have to. I thought 179. I think it's 170-93. Kind of indicates that it would require a variance due to, you know, frontage or lot size.
And the date referenced in 170-93 is July 16th, 1945. For properties that would have existed as of that date.
Right. Sounds familiar.
So anything built there, so you're saying anything built after 1945, it would be required?
It would be. That's when the town adopted zoning and mandated minimum lot sizes for the different zoning districts.
Okay, so maybe we have to get some further clarity from Jerry on this. Yeah, because I understood it to be different than that. Okay. All right. Well, we'll get to the bottom of it. Let's see what Jerry's opinion is.
Maybe the board wants to take a look at that section of code and draw their own interpretation.
Okay, and what was that code section again, Tom?
I believe 170-93.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, we'll take a look. So any other questions or discussion on those two issues? And we can follow these up at a subsequent meeting. Okay, one other item on the agenda this evening, if there's no further discussion on that, is the approval of the January 18th, 2022 minutes. We didn't have a meeting in February because we didn't have any applicants. Has everybody had a chance to review those minutes?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes,
Any changes or concerns, issues?
no,
No.
Okay, so I'm going to approve by consensus. All in favor?
aye,
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Nope. Okay, so Denise, you can consider the minutes for January 2022 approved. I'll
Thank
also,
you.
you're welcome. I'll also make mention that our next meeting is April 19th, 2022, third Tuesday in April. So
And
we're,
we do have applicants.
okay.
Are we going to continue to meet virtually? It's really, it's a majority vote on the board. We
Yeah.
can continue to meet virtually, or we can go back to meeting in person.
I'd like to get opinions from the board members. I'm open for either staying on Zoom or going to live. Like to get everybody's comments.
Are there any other boards that are doing Zoom at this point, Denise?
Oh, all of my boards and committees are doing Zoom. Nobody's switched back to live yet. And the majority want to continue to do Zoom for a variety of reasons. The other night, we had a snowstorm last week. I had a meeting that night. We didn't have to cancel. Several of my board and committee members travel, who works in the city, you know, they can sign on in their car as they're driving home. So the majority has indicated that they want to continue with virtual meetings. But
And the-
I
Yeah, I was
But
gonna
it's
say.
a
Go ahead.
No, it's got to be one or the other, and the majority rules. So
well, how about you? What do you like?
me personally,
Yeah,
I would prefer to have virtual meetings because I do live, you know, far away from Somers. And if I have to work during the day and I have a meeting at 7:30 at night, I have to sit there for hours for, you know, twiddling my thumbs waiting for a meeting. So I much prefer, and when the weather's bad, I mean, it's snowing at my house when it's raining in Somers. So and two new hips, I really don't want to be slipping on the snow. So I prefer to be, but it's not about me, you know, at the end of the day.
I know
But
that
I would,
the town
I would
board has been doing
prefer-
a hybrid, right? Hasn't the town board had several sessions where they had some
Correct.
members on Zoom? Yeah.
correct. So we could do a hybrid, but it would not be conducive to me as the secretary to be Zoom at that point. I'd have to be live. So it's up to you guys. You know,
Yeah, and town board is not right now obviously requiring in person. They may do that soon, but they
yeah,
haven't
they're
done that yet.
doing, town board is doing hybrid, planning board is still all virtual.
All right. And, you know, we could always decide, maybe, you know, we'll do another month of Zoom and then decide from there where we want to go. I don't know.
Yeah,
Arnie, what do you think, Bill? Paul?
well, that was going to be my suggestion, just to hold off for another month and see what happens, especially
Yeah.
with the, we still could have some bad weather, you know, come April.
Right.
And we can make our mind up whenever we want, really.
Yeah. Melissa, what are your thoughts on this?
My preference is probably for Zoom. It's easier for scheduling with work. I'm often commuting to Brooklyn, Manhattan, so this is an easier option than going straight from there to downtown. I can answer on the phone as well.
Sure. Okay.
being retired, I want to go along with what everybody else wants because it doesn't really make a lot of difference to me. But I can say that I enjoy the real live meeting where we get together at the town hall. I can view people, and it helps me making decisions to see their body language, quite frankly. But that's okay. Zoom is all right if we want to do Zoom for a while. I don't care.
No, I agree with you, Bill, but that's, again, I like to hold off just for another month and see what happens come April.
Okay.
Because I like to, have everything in person.
Yeah.
Paul, what are your comments on this?
I like Zoom.
Okay,
I'm partial to it, but I'm also about a minute and a half from the town center, so not that big a difference.
okay. All right, so why don't we say, it seems like the consensus is more on Zoom, so let's do Zoom for next month also. And then we'll
Okay.
decide next month's meeting, what we're going to do, or town board may say, listen, everybody's got to go back to live, so.
Yeah, we don't know.
We
Yeah.
don't know what's gonna happen on that, so, okay, so that'll be the decision there.
Now, Bill, you had mentioned you wanted to chat with us. Do you want us
Yeah.
to stop recording?
That would be nice.
Yep, all
Okay,
right.
so just more of a
So,
personal thing, okay, sure.
yep. So,
Okay, so-
everybody stay on. Paul, can somebody hear me to stop recording the meeting?
Okay, so we're gonna end the meeting now at this point in time. Any further matters anybody wishes to discuss? For the meeting? No?
No.
Okay, all right, so we're gonna sign off on everybody, to the public. Thank you, everyone, and have a good evening, and we'll just hold on so you can speak with us, Bill.
All right, good night,
All right.
all.
Good night.
Right.